Hi everybody, Helena here.
Kelly here.
We are Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a business on your terms. And for those of you who are regulars, you know we're going to ask you what the buzz in your business is. So stop listening, start typing, and just put in the comments below, what are you actually up to? Kelly's currently kind of streaming this out into the Connection Hub, which is where our conversations take place, into various other areas. And we have the lovely Rachel here, but of course, as you know, we're probably going to tell you a bit about the buzz in our business, then pass it over to Rachel, and then you'll get to know a little bit more about her. So Rachel, you just sit there, look beautiful for a moment.
Whilst everybody, hard, isn't it?
No, truly not. I'm stunning, stunning. You wait. She's got so much gorgeous info for you. So the buzz in our business, just so that you're aware, is we're speaking tomorrow.
Oh my goodness!
We are speaking tomorrow. So we've actually got a gig. Kelly's going to pop the link in the comments below as well. So for those of you who happen to be in London, at Speaker Express, we are doing a how to stand out as a speaker. And so if you've never met us, and you actually, because we did have a little bit of a weird one last week, didn't we? We had a fangirl kind of come in. Right, that should be part of the buzz in our business, really, because like, we've got mini celebrity status going on.
Very mini.
Like tiny. But I did actually have someone ping me and go, oh, I saw that you're speaking at Speaker Express. I think I'm going to come. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but cool, in that beautiful way that you do. So mainly because we are, of course, behind the scenes teaching you all sorts of things. So it's a rare opportunity to just come out and play and learn some stuff as well, obviously.
Links in the comments.
Beautiful, wonderful. So that's really the buzz in our business. I want to hand it over to Rachel because the buzz in her business is huge. So, Rachel, hi.
Hello, thanks for having me. Yes, so my buzz was last week. It was just out of the blue, and I've been poorly, so it was just such a nice surprise. I've been chasing asked for quite a while now if I'd help organise a Meet the Journalist event at a big event just at the NEC in Birmingham. And I wasn't quite sure. Anyway, we've finalised the details now, but it's up to, there's over 20,000 business owners going over 2 days. And he's offered me an hour's keynote with journalists on both days. And it's like, oh my gosh, so that is the person. I was like, oh, it's going to be the biggest audience I've ever spoken to. So yeah, so it's got plenty of time. It's not till October, so I've got plenty of time.
Yeah, right. To do some rehearsals and do all sorts of bits and pieces. Well, congratulations is all I can say.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, one of the things I love most about that little bit of buzz is that you never know where the opportunities are going to come from, right? So it's that whole, what is the phone call that you take, or what is the reach out that you make that actually just lands something beautiful like that on your door, and preferably something that's a tiny bit stretchy. Largest audience ever for me. Which is really good. So
Andrea is not very happy that we called it weird, that she's a bit of a fangirl.
Oh, hey, weird in a wonderful way. Yes. Not weird.
Weird
not
for us.
Yeah, weird for us, like, but in a really cool way. I mean, it's like, that's amazing. So let's crack on, shall we?
Yeah.
Because
it's a big topic, and it's one that I know gets a lot of attention. So we're really appreciative that you come on this live with us, because when you're a speaker, author, or coach, you normally are your business, right? And so you're the heart. So this is where the attention is on you, the stories that come out of your stories. Yeah. And so when we, because we've known each other for many years, Rachel.
And again, in that beautiful way that we do, like, I've known Rachel, Kelly's known Rachel, and before you know it, it's like, oh, here's Rachel.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
And what I've loved about you is the fact that you've done this for yourself, right? As we said in our promo post about the exposure that you've got for your own businesses, but the fact that you've helped hundreds and hundreds of people to do it for themselves. And that's what I love about you. It's not just like, oh, I'm a PR expert, everyone come to me and I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
You like give them the insights, the connections, the way to do it themselves. And so that's why we thought getting you on this live is going to be really beneficial for our members, because you're going to empower them to think that actually PR isn't this scary place that you need to have celebrity stories to get featured, but you're going to give them some practical tips. So before we start, can you give us a little bit of a background of how you even got into this field and what your, how, because I know you are, how are you shaking the PR industry up?
Yeah.
Okay, so how I got into it was just, I've always worked in the media, and I've always worked with SMEs, like the small traders and solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. And so I worked in radio, had my own ad agency. And then when my daughter was little, I created a magazine called Mums in Control, so I could achieve the work-life balance, franchise it around the country. And at our print run, we were printing 250,000 copies, so we were larger than some of the glossy magazines. Got to interview, because of our print run, Lorraine Kelly, Melinda Messenger, Trisha Goddard, some amazing, amazing people, turned down some celebs as well. And it was at that stage where I wanted to try and use PR to raise my profile. And I'm actually dyslexic, so it fills me with dread, which is why I always do video, because writing scares me, even LinkedIn scares me. So I wanted to raise my profile. So I appointed a PR agency, paid them £1,500 a month. And it was at the time when business was flying high. They got me on GMTV, so I was on with Lorraine Kelly. They got me featured in the Daily Mail. And then one day they sent me an email, the account manager sent me an email saying, would you like to get featured in the Daily Mail? It's a flexible franchising article. And I'm like, yes, that would be great. And I realised she just forwarded on an email from a media request service, which I've never even heard of. So PR agencies subscribe. They do a great job, by the way. I'm not here to take off PR agencies. If you can afford one, wonderful. But if you want to do it yourself and connect to the journalist, so most PR agencies use a media database service or a journal request service, and we'll come into that in a little while. And in 2008, 2009, you may remember there was the credit crunch, and it really, really affected my business. So I learned how to do my own PR. So I went to a seminar, watched a speaker that came over from America, applied the principles, and I launched my own National Working Mums Day. And I kid you not, I did a survey, got all the answers together, regionalised it all, and I got featured on 70 radio stations in one day.
Amazing.
15 live interviews. I didn't know whether I was coming or going with the stats. I was making something up. I was going along. But it generated over £32,000 of the cash to my business. And I thought, do you know what? This PR stuff really does work. And gone on from there. And Blueboo has evolved because people kept asking me, have you been on radio? Have you gone on TV? And I've literally gone on now to do hundreds of radio interviews. I've been on most of the TV channels. And do you know what? My story is nothing special. I was just a mumpreneur trying to achieve the work-life balance. So now I teach business owners how to find their story, emotionally connect, and approach the right type of journalists. I love it.
That's beautiful. So there's a couple of things in there, and we always honor, sort of people whose story, and I love that you've just told your story, because that's part of the whole thing. It's the fact that it's that being open to the opportunities, being open to actually seeing, simply doing whatever needed to be done, but then seeing an opportunity, having a go at that, and just seeing where that lands you, that then takes your business in a slightly different direction. That's absolutely perfect for you. So good on you for being a beautiful example of following the flow, because sometimes I think people can put themselves in too rigid a box around that. So with all of that experience, the bit that I really want to kind of highlight for people here is, how has media changed? What's different? What do we need to watch out for, right?
It's changed so much, honestly. I mean, I've been in the media for 30 odd years, and even in the last 2 or 3 years, it's changed. I interview journalists all the time, so I'm not just saying how it's changed from my point of view, how it's changed from their point of view. And with the explosion of digital PR, so you've got traditional PR and you've got digital PR. So your traditional PR are your media outlets like your print, your radio, your broadcast. But even the traditional publications are now all online. So a business editor is now also a social media journalist. So they're having to do their Facebook Lives, they're having to engage. But the biggest thing is the way we consume the news. So everything is in bite-sized chunks now. Our attention spans are a lot shorter, which is great because, you can write articles a lot shorter now. So practically just take your blogs and your articles and turn it into a press release. Right. But also the way we consume the news has changed. So for journalists, the way they report the news, actually now we are the news. As a media outlet, as the community, as the audience, we dictate the news. So I know for a fact journalists sit down in the morning and they see what's trending and they react to the news stories, whereas before they used to be leading the news stories. So now could not be a better time. And to put it into perspective for you, there's 44,000 media outlets across the UK. There's up to 80,000 UK journalists. and there's over 760,000 influencers. So it's where the rise of the influence, and most of these, you know, your speakers, your authors, your coaches that are watching this, they are their own influencer, and that's what I teach people how to do, how to build their own tribe, get their story out to communities that are already established.
Amazing.
80,000 journalists.
Yeah. So for something like, so for the Daily Mail, and this is where most people go wrong, and you'll have to stop me because I just talk too much and I could share so much with you. The Daily Mail, for example, will have up to 200 journalists working for them. So you'll have a health writer, a business editor, fashion, lifestyle. And where most people go wrong is they'll write a press release, and they do a crucial thing normally with the press release, which I know we'll come on to, but then they'll send it through a distribution service, and some distribution services, or they'll just get hold of the news desk, the main email. They need the specific journalist that writes about that content. And if you can get the two together, that's when the magic happens. Because seriously, the media are crying out for content, they're crying out for great stories, because they're having to report, their budgets have been cut, they've got less journalists, yet they're having to, I put it in your group the other day, they're having to churn the stories out, journalism, which I couldn't believe she said, rather than journalism. And it's not that the quality is any worse, it's just they've got to turn them out so quickly.
So quickly, yeah, because it just happens so quickly.
So Julie, wow, she's made it. She doesn't normally make it to Facebook Live.
Yeah, well done, Julie. Nice one.
So tell us a little bit about that, because I know you hinted about that, about press releases and stories. What are the mistakes? We made that one mistake about actually not going to the specific journalist. But let's talk a little bit more about the mistake about the copy and the press release that they might. Where do people go wrong? Most people go wrong by they're writing an advert. So advertising is logical. This is what we do, this is our number, this is our call to action. PR is an emotional connection. So if you're a speaker, an author or coach, most of this, and you're connecting with your own community, you're used to making an emotional connection. And you have to think about, your job is to tell a story, not sell your services. So advertising sells, PR tells. And I think if you understand that, you won't go too far wrong. So for me, it was about how I achieved the work-life balance around Annabelle, about how as a mumpreneur, you feel guilty for going back. It was the emotional connection side that got out. It wasn't that I wrote a magazine, I couldn't care less. In fact, it was competitive. It wasn't that I was franchising the business. So you've got to think about the story, what's behind the business, and obviously match it to your audience, because PR is not about ego. You're not trying to get on the radio or the TV just to say, I've been on radio and TV. Really, what you want to do is match your story and where you're going to put your story to the audience that you're looking for. But the biggest mistake, as I say, they make is they don't make that emotional connection. Over half of the press releases, if not more, get dumped purely because it's an advert. They can spot it a mile off.
And when you say making a connection, what are some of the kind of key points so what do you mean by that? So that people
Does it
can
have to be
make
a bit
tangible?
like a hero's journey story where you've got like, oh, this is the problem, and then they went through this pain, and this is how they got, is it got to be a successful story?
It needs to be the story. So it might be, you might be a manufacturing company making widgets, but it's not about the fact that we're a manufacturing company 10 years making widgets. How has that widget changed someone's life? What's the case study behind it? What's that emotional connection? How is it, not that we're just employing 100 people. That's a great story, but everyone kind of covers their story. But, has this widget, opened a door that created, people with disabilities to be able to get, I don't know what it is, but you've got to...
It could be the fact that there's been a guy that's worked there for 60 years and his wife died, and the fact that it was the community that he'd been working with for this time that got him through the whole thing. So actually the promo's not actually directly on the widget making manufacturer, but people go, oh, actually the fact that company's got that values, I'm looking for a job in that, and I might go and apply.
I spoke to a lady this morning, and she was a most amazing lady. I told her about your group, actually. She might even be watching this, and she was telling me about... Fantastic. She was telling me about, she's literally ran a multi-million-pound business, and it was passed on to her when her granddad started it, then her mum was started, and she had quite a lot of tragedy, go through her life. She still had to run it. She was on the board of one of 40 men, so she was a business leader, so she was battling with all of this. She went through her own tragedy. Then there was the credit crunch, and then and then the business became challenged, and she had to build it back up to the millions. And now she's a coach. She came out for her own sanity and coached for senior leaders. I'm just reading the notes I had. And I thought, oh my God, that's just, and she said, but it's an old story. I went, it's an inspirational story. You know, if you want to go into manufacturing and engineering companies, they would love that backstory, because now she's helping senior leaders with their mindset, because she's got stats around a survey, which is, again, what the journalists love, from some institute of directors or something like that, to say that 60% of business leaders won't go to HR with emotional problems because they don't want to be seen as weak. So she wants a great story. So it was that. So but she said she sent a story before, and she won't mind me sharing this. I haven't said who she is or what, but she sent a story before to a B2B journal in Birmingham, because she's a Midlander like myself, with a Brummie accent, and he said it was too salesy, but she didn't put that emotional connection in the story.
Yeah. It's really interesting, the mix of stats and story that you're actually talking about there, that are both attractive elements, but that the story is the thing that actually kind of, if you like, gets you the gig.
And if you can back it up with stats, you know, that's great. And don't feel that you need to have a massive audience. I've literally, my target market when I had Mums in Control was anyone that reached mums. So The Sun was perfect for me, love it or loathe it. They ran one of my surveys from 100 mums in there, and they got around it by saying 70% of mums feel they're not achieving the work-life balance. They just put it into percentages. As long as it genuinely is reflective of your audience and it's a true and honest, you know, we're not asking anyone to make it up, but people will be interested.
Those hair condition adverts. Like, what, I look at this little tiny white writing says, out of 10 people.
Yes.
So oh, 30% of people. I'm like, oh, you only studied 10.
But most people don't listen to that or look at that bit, do they?
No. Well, those non-detailed
people. Yeah, I was going to say,
a magnifying glass.
You and I both. It's like, what percentage really?
So let me just add a little bit more onto this, because if PR isn't for ego, even though it's really good to have the credibility to say been seen in this newspaper, blah 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 blah, to use that as credibility status.
Yeah.
And if it's not promotional, so therefore you're going to get discounted if you're going to be telling people about offers, and lots of stories don't actually contain any links. Is that correct? It's just mentioning your business.
Yes and no, but I know where this is going, so yes.
But let's go for this. But this is it's not ego, it's not promo. So what is it? What is the purpose?
It's all of those. It will bring you leverage. It will bring you credibility. So I got asked to organise a Mumpreneur Summit for the Equality and Human Rights Commission. It was like, oh my God. So it does open doors, but it's the right kind of doors. That's what I'm saying for you. So, okay, the job of the journalist is to introduce you. So the best thing you can do is give them your bio, your introduction, that, you know, I'm the media matchmaker. This is what I do. His job is to introduce you. Your job is to be the great source of information. And you have to trust that the journalist will credit you. Just like you'll introduce me, you'll credit what I do. And that's the mutual beneficial relationship. Yeah. In terms of, you will still get credited. So a client of mine got on Radio 2, the Innovation Show. They credited his business. He sold out of his stock within 48 hours, because people will go to the website. They will find you. So if you can have a fame name, I think it's Lucy that talks about this. If you can have a fame name and position yourself, absolutely amazing, because people remember you. We know the money man is. We know that Claire Rain is the retail expert. You know, find it easy.
Know all these things, aren't you? Right. You're easy to find, and they don't have to remember some URL or some business name or whatever it is. You're just. So that's a really good note for you to actually, once you've got to do the background work on your social platforms, on your content, on that stuff, so that you're building up that social footprint.
I always say start with the end in mind, Kelly, and you know this, and you teach us in your group wonderfully. You know, what are we doing it for? It's a marketing tool. PR is part of your marketing strategy. You know, most of us in business are doing our social media, we're writing a newsletter, we're already doing the steps. All I'm going to ask you to do is take it one step further and send it to the journalists.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because I think most people, I'm going to let you talk.
Seriously, I'm just going to go. You two have a nice chat.
That's one thing, because so many people think I need £2,000 a month to then put it in my marketing budget, and therefore they say I'll do PR when I've got this amount of money, when you're saying you can do it now.
Oh, without a doubt.
I'm gonna go.
my clients, look, my heart is working with people that have never tried PR before. You know, I help them, give them the media connections, but train them. You can do it for literally next to nothing. You can do it for nothing if you apply the principles and spend the time finding the right connections.
And I think it's actually that bit that I think this interview opens up for people. But I think there's a bit underneath it, which is what I was going to say, which is actually having the confidence to know that you are an interesting guest at the party. Because actually, as I just heard you say, and I really want everyone to get this, the journalist is the person that introduces you to the audience that you're actually looking to be introduced to. So your job is to kind of be interesting at the party where the journalist finds you.
Yeah.
And I love that idea that actually you simply highlight with your story how you've gone from A to B, whatever the A to B is, that's of interest in the market. And so I am going to squeeze the word avatar in there, because actually what I'm really hearing is that part of how you make contact, and I will ask you specifically, because I'm sure that there's some tactical things that you can actually do, but part of it is knowing what is the audience I want to get to, who are the journalists that actually write for and into that area, and then what is my story that would be of interest to that person, whether it's trending stuff or whether it's just my story.
Absolutely. But Helena, you don't actually always need to have a press release to get coverage. So you can just send an introductory email, or you might be an expert spokesperson for a story that's trending, because most national stories, they will want to cover it through the trade press, or they'll want to cover it regionally. So the B word, the Brexit, we're covering it off in all different ways. So if you have a comment on that, there's loads of national days and celebration days that you can talk about. If you're aligned with that, or your experience or your expertise lies in that, put yourself forward to say, in light of today's stories, I'm available to comment, this is what I do. Here's some of my previous articles as well. Yeah, there's so many different ways, but don't be too overwhelmed by it, and don't be too scared. And don't also think it's harder to get into the national media than it is the local, because they still need the stories. And trust me, they'll be grateful to you.
Yeah. Which is amazing. And so from
you're
more
going to ask this
tactical
question.
go on.
Julie wants. So
Julie's
Julie's
asking
about, are there some cool tips on how to find the right journos for specific sectors? She already gets a daily email from Journo Request, which helps her build her email list.
Right, fantastic. So top tips, please.
So the top tips, the ladies just mentioned, there's the Journo Request hashtag. So I said to you, I got asked if I wanted to be featured in the Daily Mail. It was a media request service. So journalists are using the hashtag Journo Request on Twitter. So you could just search for the hashtag Journo Request, and you'll be able to find all the requests from journalists. The only downside to it now is everyone realises it, and there's so much spam in there. So services like mine, we've just filtered it all out and put them. But if you can follow that, that's great. Then the other top tip is think about, so if you've got a health business, you want the health writers, or a lifestyle, phone up and just start off with your top 5 media outlets. Where is it your customers are? And if you don't know where your customers, what they're reading, what they're asking.
What's she doing listening to us?
I know.
We talk about Avatar every trading session.
There you go. I've got to catch up on things. But find out what their audience is, and then go to that media. Here's a top tip. Read the headlines, listen to the radio station, watch the TV channel, and replicate. So if the headline is sensationalist with a twist, or if it's technical, follow the kind of the way it works. If it's a 500 article, use 500 articles. You'll see it weekends, in the weekend, if you want to be in the lifestyle magazines, sometimes the articles are a lot longer. Some people now are actually, the journalist interview I did last week was a lady that's written for the FT and the Telegraph. And she said to me, if you can summarize your story in a tweet, in the characters of a tweet, we get it. We want to write the story. You don't need to write the press release. So you could summarize and headline it. You could do a 500-word article, and then you could do a 1,000-word article if you wanted to really put that much effort in and give them all the different options.
It's really interesting, because actually just that mimicking the style is a great tip, sort of, so that you actually get used to, a bit like you were saying, I'm dyslexic and actually don't get me anywhere near writing. Kind of it becomes that whole thing of, well, how is that true of my audience? What is the style in which I need to be showing up? But I also love this idea that actually the journalist has more of an impression of what they'll do with your 170 odd characters that are actually in there, because they'll steer you, right? But the essence, they can then kind of shape it.
It takes the pressure off.
Right? Freelance journalists get paid to write articles. So if you can pitch into freelance journalists, there's freelance journalists. So even somewhere like the Telegraph or the Times or the Daily Mail, they'll probably have 70% in-house staff and 30% freelance journalists. And these journalists write across all the different, because they're sector specific. So they're a manufacturing journalist that's specific on that sector, and then they'll write for different articles. So you could use freelance and go to them. They'll write the story for you. They'll pitch your story in.
Amazing. And how do I find one of them?
Well, you can Google, for journalists, but obviously I try and create people bespoke media lists. There are media databases you could subscribe to that you can look up, and we do that, but we give people like a taster session of just a small group of media lists up to 200 journalists. But I said I'd do you guys an offer with 300 journalists. So we can like make a bespoke list for people, for freelancers, because they'll write the story for you. Or it might be health writers that are within the Daily Mail, or you might be wanting to get into the Huffington Post. We can find whatever journalists you want. So just think about first, where is it you want to be? Another top tip as well is to perhaps consider having a press page on your website. It's only really the contact us page, but it shows a little bit of what you do. It's got your avatar, your bio. These are the things that you can comment on, but it just shows your media savvy. Most people say, but I haven't had any publicity, so I can't put my backstory. That's absolutely fine. And then when you do, you can put it in. What I'd also recommend as well, and I know I'm trying to cram so much in.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. Keep coming.
Don't put all your blogs. So, we put our blogs on our website and we're proud of our stories. Journalists don't want old stories. They want new news. So perhaps only put your last 4 or 5 articles on and then repurpose it so it's a brand new story. Because if they see that story has been sat on your website for a month, they don't want to look at it. They want something new, something different.
And that is that encouragement just to stay current and actually kind of really be on top of things and be on top of your presence, because that's what we say all the time is you are in charge of how you show up, but this is one of the beautiful ways that allows you to almost develop that consistency muscle and a reason for it.
I think it's good to allow journalists to make it easy for you as well. So for the speakers that I manage, they have a media page which has high-res images, bios, show reels, video. So basically that person can just click download rather than going, can I have a high-res image? Oh, it's too large to send via email and all that rubbish. That's a really good having that media page. I've got a question from Andrea who's saying, is it more difficult to get into the trade press, HR, H&S, etc. audience than the local or national?
No, the principles apply. What you'll find with trade press, and we were looking at some today, you'll only have probably 3 or 4 people work there. It's very much small teams, and they survive on advertising. So the minute you contact them, they will try and put you to their advertising department, or they'll say to you, we'll run the article, but you have to pay to put the picture in as well, and put an image in. So, then that's your call to take that. But if you keep building that relationship and you're seen as the influencer stroke expert within that field, then you've got more chance of getting into the trade press. But again, read that trade press, connect with the journalists. All the journalists are listed, so you don't have to go out and buy a list. You can do this the hard way. When we're on a budget, it's hard to do, isn't it? But absolutely, the trade press is just as easy to get into, but the same principles apply. Make sure it's a story, not an advertising, advertorial or advertising.
So when I used to work for Elite Business Magazine way back in the day, so we used to do advertorials there, but also you also think about what's the added value, because yes, people would pay for an advertorial, the advertisement, and then have like a half-page advert, but also they had a database of like 300,000. So we would say, as well as doing the print magazine, if we did some more work and I had more of a story, we would feature you in an email out to people as well. So there's always things you can do on top of what's...
But what you'll find, absolutely, that's a great way to do it. And also, on the other side is that the trade magazines, they're under-resourced too, yet they're still looking for content. So offer to be a regular contributor. There's a lot of people I've helped become ongoing contributors because they put themselves forward. We sent out an introductory email on behalf of one of our clients. We had 18 replies back saying, yes, please. And she was HR, B2B, working on the, senior leaders at a high level, and we had 18 yes, okay. Now some we didn't want to because it was just too small, wasn't the right audience. But then you're in the driving seat and you're giving, because they're going like, you're giving me content, I haven't got to pay for a journalist to write that content.
And one of the clients I work with is actually a celebrant, and he now has a regular column in the in the local paper, because he chooses to work in the very regionalized kind of local area. We just thought, well, what's the most obvious thing, the obvious way that you can be in the presence of? And you know, they lapped it up. They were like, yes please, thank you very much, volunteers, we'll take it.
Jo's also saying she can recommend voluntary work and being in the media contact. That's how I get my press stuff. So
I mean, charities and voluntary work, charities are really struggling to get media coverage because there's so many of them, so they're always having to think of ideas as well. But absolutely anything with a twist. And when we give our members 47 PR ideas, because we just get stuck for ideas, don't we? I'm like, oh, I don't know what to write about. But the simplest way is just to see, you know, read and listen to your local radio station, read, you know, the articles of the trade press and see what they're talking about and replicate it. And I'm a big advocate for BBC radio, because BBC and talk radio and LBC, they're 60 to 70% talk. They need content. They need people to fill the slots. So put yourself forward. And again, if you're going to do radio, think about how that looks as a debate. Supply them with the questions and the answers. Help the journalists create the topic. And it completely, like with podcasts now, I mean,
to say it goes into podcasts a little bit as well, doesn't it?
And there is a whole, so if you think about this, so for every speaker, author and coach that's kind of watching, there is something about going back and looking at right here and now in terms of your call to action, or one of the ones from in here, because I think there are several, but one of them is just to go back and go, okay, well, what do I want to be known for, seen as, you know, what am I talking about on a regular basis? What are the questions I would love to be asked on a regular basis, and how do I fit that into what's going on out there in the world right now?
So tell us then, if we just had like some bullet points of what makes a good story. If people are now going, they get it, they know that they can own it, they know it's their, you know, they can take control. What would be some good things that make a good story?
We've covered off what's an emotional connection. So if you've got an emotional connection, great. What makes a good story is something that's topical. You know, you could simply set up a Google alert to see what's going on in your industry, and if you can comment on it, that would make a great story. You know,
Google alert. So just so people know what that is, Rachel, is where people can actually set their email address up with certain keywords, and if in the morning, whenever Google does its search for spiders out there, if it finds that keyword, it will show you the responses that come up, and you can then go, oh, okay, either your name's appeared, I will just do it to make sure that no one's talking about me, but also keywords in your industry. It's all right, I know,
but everybody loves me. So
they're only going to say good stuff.
But exactly that. But also national celebration days. There's over 400 national celebration days. Right off the back, I think it's National Stress Day today or something, like, not sure. You know, but all these national celebration days have been created for a reason, to raise awareness for something. Just like I created National Working Mums Day, it was because I wanted to raise awareness for working mums and mums in control. So is there a national day that you can, you know, right off the back of? Something else as well.
A small one, just as a complete aside, it's actually National Tea Day coming up very soon. Not today, but very, very shortly, this weekend, or maybe it was just this weekend.
National Pet Day this week as well, which is one of my
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's lovely, but you know, the media do get behind it, they really do. And think about as well, have you got any case studies? They love success stories or any case studies. So a lot of journalists will write an article, it might be about property, who's made money, who's lost money. So they want a property expert. You guys could be the property expert. Then they want the case study of who's made money, who's lost money. You could be the case study, or you might have some great case studies. There's some top tips on how you can actually make a story.
Brilliant. That's amazing.
So I've got some comments before they start to disappear. So Michelle's saying she's a regular expert for BBC Newcastle. FYI, she's not based in Newcastle. But she wants to know, how could she get onto other BBC radio stations?
Without a doubt, put herself forward. The BBC share their database, which is brilliant. So introduce yourself to the producers. In radio, it's the producers you want to contact. But again, think about your audience. So if you're trying to get people that are in business, you want drive time morning and afternoon, so listen to those drive time shows. But it's the producers in contact, and just leverage what you've done. Put on your press page as featured on the BBC. Give them a sound bite so they can get to hear what your voice sounds like, and then put forward some debates and topics and ideas.
Nice.
It's National Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day today, and Save the Elephant Day. We're not dressed in the right attire.
We need to go with pyjama bottoms on down below. No, I haven't. You'd be surprised now.
That's good.
We're talking about getting the media attention.
Oh, it
right?
is. Well, this would definitely be it. So what could you build around that? We missed a trick. We totally missed a trick. We need to write this one down for next year. That's what it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
So,
oh, it's Orchid Day too. It's all coming in now.
What day isn't it? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's the point,
Right.
and that's the getting down to the media want to write about things. They need stories. They sit down, I kid you not, a couple of hours before, especially on radio, they go, what are we going to talk about today? They look at what's topical, what's trending, what's national days they can ride off, and they hope that something's going to come in. So you will be able to attract them in some way.
No, me. Talking about that, now we're saying how media's changed and a lot of it's digitalized. What's print run like? So if people are talking about it's a day to day, when should they be getting in touch with the journalist?
Okay, so it's all very different. So think about how often they print. So if it's a daily newspaper, obviously the day before you're on deadlines. If it's a weekly newspaper, you want to, if it comes out on a Friday, probably send them a press release on a Monday, because what they're doing is on a Friday they're mopping up on Monday. Sorry, if it comes out Thursday, they're mopping up on Friday from it going out. They're open-minded on Monday, Tuesday, then the deadlines, they don't want to speak to anybody because they're putting it to bed. But think about as well, radio and TV. With TV, you've got to think in pictures. What is that story going to look like? Does it make a story? So if we make widgets, can we go in and video them, do the widgets and going through to the factory and how it looks at the end? You've got to think and visualize the story. And journalists always go, the so what? What is the so what? With consumer magazines, some of the magazines are planned 3 months in advance. So now they'll probably, the May or June issue will probably be out on the thing. So you've got to put 3 months in advance. So think about your stories. Is it a story you want to turn around really quickly? If so, you can only go to direct media like online, newspapers 24 hours, or radio. If it's a story that you know is just going to come around every single year, time it, but then go to them 3 months in advance. But again, you'll be able to just look at those media outlets, just take 5 or 10 and just do a bit of research.
Yes. And so the bit I was going to highlight is really around building a business on your terms. So I can imagine that some of the people who are listening by now, and please do let us know, it could be overwhelming, this whole kind of thing of, but I'm running my business kind of willy-nilly. And if you're 80% the deliverer in the business, part of what we say around building a business on your terms is to have some products that are delivered without you, the productization of what you actually do. Because as you said right at the very beginning, what's the point of all of this? Where am I driving all of this attention and traffic through to? There's something here for me that actually goes back to that point and says, okay, well, how long is it? Because this is the question I'm imagining a lot of people asking. Well, how long is it going to take me to do all of this? Am I doing like an hour in the morning looking at topics and trends? What am I doing over the course of a month?
It can be as little as an hour a week, Helena, or it can be an hour every day, however you want to do it. You've got to think about what is it you're looking to achieve. Are you looking for national clients, national coverage? Have you got the capacity for all those clients? Because it can transform your business. But all joking apart, PR literally could change your whole business over. And I've seen it happen. It's happened to me, and I've helped hundreds of business owners to achieve the same. So it's quality, not quantity. You can do quantity and blanket loads of them, but just start off baby steps. Just think about 1 to 5 media contacts. And go with them, whether it's getting on local radio, speak to local radio producer, but think about, are you ready? Is your website ready? Things we haven't talked about, always have 2 or 3 key messages when you do an interview. So now when you see the politicians speak, you'll realise that they always bring it round.
Right.
And it's so annoying because they don't answer the question, and I'm not asking you to be like that. But you do still want to get your 2 or 3 key messages across. And I just put some sticky notes on here of what you want to say. And as soon as I said it, then I throw it away, because it is give and take. You're so busy trying to answer the journalist and give a great job and be a great source of information, but you still also have to get your 2 or 3. You're doing this, it's a business, it's a reciprocal kind of way that you're exchanging your information, but also giving a little bit as well. But just try it, just dip your toe in the water, because we're all so busy marketing. Like you say, we're doing our newsletters, we're doing our tweets. your social media and all that. I'm just saying to you, take a bit of what you're doing and just take it one step further and try it, because you'll get the bug for it then. And then it's just like, oh my God, it would just transform your
It's
business.
the positioning, right? You can be talking about yourself on social media and you're not blowing your own trumpet, but as soon as somebody else endorses you and talks on that third person, your positioning goes through the roof, and people start seeing you as a much more credible person. So it's great.
It really does. And also, you know, one of the things we help as a media matchmaker, we swap content and everything. Someone put a post in your group last week and it was brilliant. It's about, you know, I'm looking for an article or a guest blog or something. Do that as well. This is a great community in here. You know, people, you know, I'm always looking for different experts, you know, because journalists come to me and they want to interview experts, you know, so I've got a database that we're building, a media platform called Media Matchmaker. So, you know, you can do the same through yours, so all help each other, because they've got their community of 10,000 followers or 1,000, you've got yours of 1,000 or 10,000, all of a sudden you've doubled.
Yeah,
and that's
simple.
The principles are so simple but so effective.
Yeah. Daisy saying she thought she was spam when the BBC radio producer asked her to feature her event for the programme. See, magic can happen.
That's exactly it.
I had one guy, he got featured on, he followed our principles because we give them all the training to how to get on radio. It was very timely. It was January. It was all about fitness, and he was an outdoor fitness boot camp stuff. He got featured on radio within 24 hours, talking about fitness and everything. As a result of that, he got onto BBC Inside Out. So the next week then he was doing a TV programme with their video in it. As a result of that, because he was a really handsome guy, so he looked good on TV as well, he was young, he then got asked to be the expert on the BBC embarrassing bodies. So it can have a snowball effect. It really, really can.
Yeah, I really love it. So I'm aware of time and the fact that people's lunches are probably way over. So how can we get in touch with you?
How do people work with you? Right? You've mentioned about Media Matchmaker,
because I'm pretty certain.
So yeah.
Oh, bless you. Well, you know, I love helping people that have never done it before or are just coming back to it. So I've said to your guys, what I love to do is create people a bespoke media list. So if you're looking for a bespoke media list, I'd be happy to do that up to, and I've said to you guys, I'll do up to 300. I've never done this before. You won't find it on my website, but I'll also give everyone access to my Club 100, which is lifetime access to all the training and the journalist interviews.
It's amazing.
I'll teach you how to do your PR, but I'll give you over a Zoom call as well. I'll build your own bespoke media list. I would sell that separately. It's normally over £500, and today you can just do it for 200 if they're interested. Amazing. The only downside to it is I only have so many slots because it's my time. So we can book it in the diary, so it's absolutely fine in advance. So you get a link to my diary. So if anyone does want, and I'll happily do it as well, you know, I'll put my money where my mouth is. I'll 100% guarantee it. You can have access to the Club 100. If we do our Zoom call and you don't feel it's right, or the bespoke media list isn't right for you, I'll give you money back, because, you know, I do what you guys do. We talk from the heart. And this list today I created for somebody. She was like, oh my gosh, you know, it was the FT, it was the Times, it was trade magazines, it was freelance journalists. So I just love helping. I'm like you guys, I love what I do and I'm proud of it.
That's why you're here. That's why we choose people like you.
Well, yeah, we're lucky. We're very lucky, and it's a great community. I know I say it, and I'm not just saying it. I'm in so many groups, and it's only been the last few months, hasn't it? I've come out of lurking.
Yeah.
And it's just a great group. What you've created is a great group, and you know, we're all here to help each other, and you know, we can get some success stories. Oh my God, most people watching this as an author, speaker, coach, they've got their story. This is where I go, come on,
that's it.
So they can just contact me via this group or direct message me, or
put the link to your website and everything in the comments so that people can connect with you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Or by your website. So
and if there is anybody who is just watching this on Speaker Insight or on, you know, #replay, ask your questions, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But if you are watching this on the Speaker Insight page, the group that Rachel's referring to is the Connection Hub. So just come and play in there and ask your questions.
And just quickly, Julie's saying, can you do this for an organisation that she represents? Can she have a chat with you rather than as an individual? Can you do it for an organisation?
Yeah,
beautiful.
Absolutely.
Love it.
And what's the best way link to the list that Rachel was talking about? Just contact her directly, Michael.
Give her a
Put
ping.
all the links in there, just a couple of comments below you.
Yeah, it's really good.
We really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. I've loved it. Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll see more from you in the Connection Hub.
Yeah, can't wait.
It's such an awesome value. You've given us tips anyway that you can go and do. And if you want to take it to the next level and build those lists, you've got an awesome resource there.
Really
no, brilliant. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.
Always.
See you
Take
later.
care, darling.
Bye.
Bye-bye.